Hey guys, welcome to the Reparenting Daily podcast, your daily guide for inner child healing. This podcast helps you establish a consistent reparenting routine, and it's divided into 3 sections. The first is a daily reading, the second is a discussion of that reading, followed by suggested journal prompts, and the last section is a peaceful meditation for closing. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whenever and wherever you're joining us. I'm so glad that you could join us here on this journey of self-expansion and growth. If this is your first time, welcome. Now, before we dive in, I'd like to again remind us of the congratulations of passing the 500 episode marker. And as a celebration of that, I've opened up the Patreon community for free membership so that people can join our Zoom calls for free. There are a lot of people struggling out there. There's a lot going on. So I thought this could be a way to provide some help and, to give some thanks for all the support that I've received so far. You can also choose if you'd like to be a paid Patreon member, and that will help me to subsidize some of the costs and expenses that I have for this project. I'm still running this out of my own pocket, so it's about $2,000 to $5,000 a year that it costs me to produce this actually. So I'm not really making money from this. It's something that I'm doing for myself and hopefully to be able to help others. And so I'm coming from a genuine place here. The second thing that I'd like to remind you is that you can also find the Reparenting Daily Journal. You can purchase that on Amazon. It's another way to support the podcast. It's under $20. And it basically allows you to follow along with all of the monthly and weekly themes. It gives you space to keep your notes. And yeah, if you join the team or the Zoom calls, it might be a great way for us to all stay aligned and be working together. The last thing I'd like to give you a head up on is the Fairy Tales for Reparenting Daily series. As I mentioned earlier, I've had some editing issues with that because in the springtime, the end of spring, I did some reworking to structure those into certain themes. So like the beginning, middle, and end of the hero's journey. And in the midst of reorganizing and restructuring the stories and also upgrading the artwork, some of the text is a bit mixed and jumbled all over the place. Sorry about that. When I was in the editing phase for the first time, they did not send the proofread copies to the Netherlands, and so I had to work, around and trying to find a way to get the copy to edit, and it's just been a mess. So basically, that's going to take a little bit longer. I'm going to aim to have that done by the end of the year, but I have burned my eyes, so I am very limited. Excuse me, with what I can do and time I spent on the computer. And so I would have had that done much earlier. I would have liked to have that already done, but here we are. And so in any case, once that's available, again, I'll give you a heads up, but please do hold off on purchasing the Fairy Tales for Reparenting Daily for now. Or Fairy Tales for Reparenting series, not the Fairy Tales for Reparenting Daily. That's it today. So without further ado, let's dive into today's practice. Today's reading is from Scott Young, and it's entitled 7 Rules to Understand People. Sorry if there's a lot of noise in the background. They're doing construction, and also apologies for the delay. I am extremely sick, you guys. As I told you before, I burned my eyes, and I also have a stomach infection that doesn't seem to be getting better after my medication. So apologies for the delay. We're going to be getting back on track. This is a reminder in September. The theme is emotional intelligence. We're in week 3, which is September 15th until the 21st, and the theme is building empathy and understanding others. The 7 critical rules to understand people. My headline might sound overreaching. Clearly, a rule can't define something as complex as human behavior. Despite this, I found most people tend to make the same mistakes. These mistakes are frequent enough that they create conflicts later. Remembering these 7 rules will help in avoiding these common mistakes. People skills is about being friendly, nice, and interesting. Duh. Most of the books I've read on dealing with people either make 2 claims. Incredibly obvious stuff that most sensible people understand, even if they haven't mastered it. Things like be nice, be considerate. Bizarre and complex theories that may explain some behavior, but difficult to generalize. Between these 2, I found there seems to be a gap of information that can be applied generally, but isn't always obvious. Frequent mistakes tend to cause most people conflicts, social errors, and emotional upsets. The 7. Here are the 7 rules I'm talking about. Rule 1. Never blame malice, for it can easily be explained by conceit. People don't care about you. This isn't because people are mean or hurtful, but simply because they are mostly focused on themselves. Consider this hypothetical pie chart, showing the variety of thoughts a typical person has. In this example, 60% of thoughts are self-directed, my goals, my problems, my feelings. Another 30% are directed towards relationships. How will this affect me? What does Julie think of me? How will my boss evaluate my performance in the next review? Do my friends like me or see me as irritating? Only 10% in this model is time spent on empathy. Empathy is a rare event when a person feels the emotions, problems, and perspective of another person. Instead of asking what Julie thinks of me, I ask, what is Julie thinking? Within that 10%, most people can divide attention between hundreds of other people they know. As a result, you would occupy a fraction of the percentage of what most people's minds and only a couple percentage points in a deeply bonded relationship. Even if you are in another person's thoughts, it's how your relationships affect them, not you. Rule number 2, few social behaviors are explicit. Basically, this rule means that most the intentions behind our actions are hidden. If a person is feeling depressed or angry, usually the resulting behavior distorts their true feelings. If I feel you snub me, I might hold my tongue but ignore you later. The old joke is that a woman uses words like fine and go ahead when they really feel the opposite. But I've noticed men do this too in polite situations, although not in the same way. The application of this rule is that you need to focus on empathy, not just hearing the person. Demonstrate trust, build rapport, and learn to probe it. By focusing on empathy, you can usually break away these subversions and get to the heart of the issue faster. Rule 3. Behavior is largely dictated by selfish altruism. To say everyone is completely selfish is a gross exaggeration that ignores all the acts of kindness, sacrifice, and love that make the world work. But I would argue that most, not all, but most, behavior does work from the principle of selfish altruism. Selfish altruism is basically win-win. It is where helping you directly or indirectly helps me. You can read more for more details. And rule 4, people have poor memories. I've been told someone's name at a party and then forgot it later. Another rule of human behavior is that people have trouble remembering things, especially information, as you'll recall in rule 1, that doesn't apply to themselves. People are more likely to remember your similarities and your differences, unless they were emotionally incensed by them. And rule number 5, everyone is emotional. People, perhaps this is an exaggeration, but one of the core messages is that people tend to have stronger feelings about something than they let on. People who regularly have outbursts of anger, depression, or flamboyant enthusiasm are generally frowned upon in most cultures. This especially applies to men. For women trying to figure us out. And rule 6, people are lonely. This is another broad generalization, but it is amazing how many people who seem to have it all wrong also suffer from bouts of loneliness. Sorry, let me rewrite. I skipped a line. But it is amazing how many people who seem to have it all also suffer from bouts of loneliness. As social animals, I believe people are especially sensitive to any threats to become ostracized. In Neanderthal times, exile meant death, so loneliness and the desire to be with other people is a strong one. And rule 7, did I mention people are self-absorbed? This may sound like a reiteration of rule 1, but I believe the applications extend beyond relationships and your emotional state. The fact that people tend to be too concerned about themselves to give you much attention, that people tend to be lonelier, more emotional, and feel different than they let on applies how you view the world. Thank you, and that's the reading today. I skipped around a bit, so you can check out the article and read it in its entirety. Again, sorry for the noise. It's really annoying and frustrating today. This article lays out the 7 rules to better understand people, cutting through the confusion of human behavior. At its core, it highlights that people are usually more self-absorbed, emotional, forgetful, and lonely than they perhaps admit. And that behavior is not driven by cruelty, but instead by self-interest, limited attention, and hidden emotions. Tied to September's theme of emotional intelligence, these rules emphasize two essentialities of EQ. The first is empathy and perspective taking. Most people's behavior is filtered through self-focus, insecurity, and unspoken struggles. Understanding that allows us to respond with patience instead of judgment. Number two, self-regulation, and proactivity. Since others are busy with themselves, waiting passively for validation or fairness, it leaves you powerless. Emotional intelligence means managing your own reactions, building connection actively, and not personalizing others' behaviors. Within week 3's theme, developing empathy and understanding others, this reading reminds us that empathy does not mean excusing bad behavior, but rather recognizing that underlying patterns of self-absorption, fear, or loneliness. Once we stop assuming malice, we are free from unnecessary hurt and gain clarity about how to engage with people more wisely. From a reparenting perspective, these rules are profound healing. Many of us were raised believing that others' neglect, harshness meant we were not good enough. In truth, most people, even parents, were consumed with their own issues. Reparenting means teaching your inner child that others' self-absorption was not your fault. You can now give yourself the validation you didn't receive while learning to approach relationships without misplaced shame or bitterness. As we go into the journal prompts today, number 1, think of a time you assured someone was being hurtful towards you. Look back. How might self-absorption, forgetfulness, or hidden emotions explain their behavior instead? Number 2, which of the 7 rules resonate most with your own past wounds? How could reparenting yourself with this insight reduce unnecessary shame or self-blame? And number 3, how can you practice proactive empathy this week? Meeting someone where they are emotionally without personalizing their behavior. That's it for today. As always, thanks for being here. Take care of yourself, and please do be well. Welcome back. Now, this is the third and final section of the daily podcast. This is your silent meditation. Please go ahead and find a space where you can be comfortable and undisturbed, where you can relax and spend some time with yourself for this 10-minute silent meditation. You can choose to be sitting, standing, lying down, or in whatever position makes you comfortable today. Take a moment to simply be with yourself. Focus on your breath and gently connect with each part of your body. If thoughts arise, don't let them overwhelm you. Just observe them without attachment. Imagine them as leaves drifting down atop a river, passing by without needing your engagement. Stay present, grounded, and open to this moment, no matter what time you are listening and practicing this meditation. Namaste.